We are live. Good evening, Sasakar, Namaste, Adab, Bonsoir. I'm Ashish Banka, National President, HR Sampark, and wishing you all a very good evening. I hope you all are safe, fine, and in this extended pandemic, we have to support our family, colleagues, friends. Let us be together and fight out this. I am thoroughly, honored and very excited to come back to this CXO and HR Then and Now series. This is our 17th episode. We had a gap of 2 months while we were focusing upon MAD making a difference, and we were finding somebody very, very unique to bring across to you. And while I got somebody, and I waited, and this is the time where this individual will unleash and help us to unleash our awesome of using his knowledge, experience. I am also very disheartened to say that Mr. Amitava Banerjee, who was supposed to co-host this session with me, has encountered a personal emergency, so he will not be part of this session. Nevertheless, we will try to put it into his shoes, and I'll try to ask questions which Amitava would have asked our esteemed speaker. Exit Sampark, as we all know, we have three chapters: Mumbai, Calcutta, and Delhi. We are a non-profit trust registered in Calcutta, started 3 years back, and recently we conducted our first AGM. It was a success. Over 400 members, and we bring this society intervention series to you all so that it helps you in your career and coming generations. A disclaimer: all the discussion done today is based on individual ideas, thoughts, relevance, and is not specific related to any company, industry, or individual. It's important since we have a very dignified individual today. I'm extremely privileged, honored, and shivering, honestly, to all of you to have Dr. Subhajit Bose with me today as our esteemed chief speaker. He's an experienced leader with diverse and deep expertise in business management, growth, transformation across industries, with expertise in consulting, strategy, planning, business development, digital transformation, analytics, performance management, sales strategy, insights and effectiveness, market intelligence, relationship management in India, Middle East, Europe, US, China, and Asian countries. With proven success in CXO level relationship management, in his current role at Indigo, reporting to CXO, he draws a 360-degree view of business function to identify opportunities, strategizing and implementation solutions across business operations, working with cross-functional teams across geographies. His work experience expands all key areas of transportation, supply chain, logistics, business, including e-commerce. He has been a PNL head, garnered a lot of careers. He has equipped a strong and positive approach in leveraging business opportunities through knowledge, technology, innovation, building capability by being a lifelong learner. His unique strength lies in his different roles to achieve strategic excellence across assigned verticals. A strategist, a mobilizer, a change driver, effective communicator, and led cross-functional teams and set up processes and delivered. Presently spearheading a large-scale optimization project, re-engineering projects at Indigo to mitigate impact of COVID-19. Through his career, he's always maintained a strong focus on development by continuous learning. His academic credentials include, in inverted commas, a PhD in management, an MBA in finance, international business strategy, management program from prestigious IIM Ahmedabad. He is also a qualified chartered accountant, company secretary. Yes, audience, you heard it right. We will come back to it later. At Indigo, he leads cross-functional teams responsible for strategic planning, optimization, data ethics, and controls. He has led many initiatives impacting transformation, change management, and ideating technology interventions. He managed a huge PNL across 70 locations in India, over 25,000 team members. He has been attained at a cost leadership at industry level. Lot of interventions which he took in terms of digital processization, success transformation have all been rewarded and recognized. He has achieved significant cost savings and through multiple initiatives, technology interventions, automations, process reengineering. He has previously associated with esteemed companies like Emirates, Amex, Warren Group. He develops and focuses on student development. His presence and thoughts will guide and inspire all of us, including students and professionals, and learn from his journey. While I took a bit of time, and I think I have still not done the justice to present Dr. Bose, but we as part of Sampark and specifically as an individual, Dr. Bose, we are truly overwhelmed and so excited to have you on this series. We will take this series in such a way where audience can get relate. Specifically while we talk about this career journey and success, reaching here is has not been an easy path. It has not been an overnight where you slept and the day you woke up in the morning where Dr. Bose is the director of Indigo. But while we'll come and touch all these things so that on the audience relate, CXO and HR as the series have, Dr. Subhajit Bose. Uh, what? So if you can help us, to start, what would have been your first interaction with HR, and what do you think about HR when you started your career?
Sure. Thank you, Ashish, for the wonderful introduction, and a very good evening to all the viewers and listeners. Uh, you see, for me, of course, I have been interacting with HR for quite a long time now, and the type of interaction has, of course, changed over the years in terms of how we have been working together. So initially, it was about recruitment, it was about HRBP support, etc. But over a period of time, I think even the role of HR has really transformed and evolved, and we see a very valuable footprint of HR across various other activities. So, be it the space of HR operations, be it in the space of REM plan, be it in the space of managing the employee life cycle, etc. So I have been fortunate to work with HR departments, or because so for example, in my various companies I work for, we did have separate HR sub functions, which were as large as a department for REM plan, for operations, for recruitment, etc. And it has always been an excellent relationship. I think there's a tremendous value which HR adds to any business, no doubts about it, and that's ever increasing.
Thank you, Mr. Bose. I think all of our chest would have become 56 inches after hearing such good words about HR from you. But my question was, what was your first interaction about HR when you started your career? Any experience which you want
Okay.
to share?
Yeah, so of course, I mean, first one was relating to the recruitment in American Express, and that was a time when, of course, HR was more towards a particular process of managing recruitment, and during the interview, they did ask me the question, some of which, of course, which one could understand or gauge in advance, like how do you look yourself 5 years down the line, etc. But I think what is very important is at that first interaction, HR gave me a feeling that we are there for you, and in an organization when you work 8-10 hours a day, it's equivalent to another family, right? That's the time you spend in an organization, and when somebody says we are there for you, that gives you a lot of comfort as an individual, as a professional. So I think I have very sweet memories of the first interaction. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Bose. I think we all have gone through, but while I was narrating your introduction and while we touched base upon few of your ex-colleagues, present colleagues, because we do a lot of homework, and
Hmm.
this introduction, maybe I will say one of a lifetime I have met somebody who is so qualified. We rarely find
No,
so
no,
many
no,
people.
no.
But do you think this was planned, or this was your competency? So it was either by design, by choice, by
Hmm.
accident. How does so much of education came? And while generally people stick to one education and then they focus upon that and generate their income or maybe their professional career based on that education. But you kept on adding. So
Hmm.
tell tell us our audience about that.
Sure. So, I mean, for me, the way I look at education is, that education is all about continuous learning and aligning yourself with the changing environment or the dynamics of the business in the business parlance. From that perspective, what happens is, we do have a very robust so-called institutions, academic institutions, who really sort of ensure that students, when they pass out, are equipped to deliver what corporate India wants, or for that matter, what any corporate house wants. But I think what is very important is that change, or the pace of change, has been increasing, and what is relevant today may not be relevant tomorrow. So if I anchor my education only at a point of time, then what happens is, you are using a theory for which perhaps the utility has been outlived. So because you are faced with a different environment. So it is, I think, very important for everybody to sort of be associated with academics. So I don't mean to say necessarily to do a course, but these days you do have a lot of democratization of education. So you have a lot of online platforms which is free, which is paid for. So you can do it any way you want, but what is important is that you be relevant, because that is very important from a value addition perspective. So that kept me on, and I think the other piece is perhaps I love challenge. So any exam excites me, to be honest. Because I always have this feeling, that how tough can it get? Let me try and crack it out. So that's more of a problem solving aptitude which is within me. Perhaps that's the way I'm designed, and I love doing that. Sitting for exams and the fun of it. That's more on the tactical side of things. Yeah.
Maybe you said it so easily. What recalled
Hmm.
in my mind, the nervousness when people think about exams, and the way you said
Hmm.
it, our
Hmm.
audience will take a lot of time to gulp it down, because for them it is so difficult. That's how the
Hmm.
one important takeaway which I would like to give it to the audience from your what you have said is being
Hmm.
relevance. The word which you used
Yes.
is very important. And for our audience, it's very important that times have changed. We are struck by a pandemic. Both of our industries, be it travel and tourism and hospitality and food, have got deeply impacted. And we are, going through that. So I think this is a very important advice to all audience and participants. Please stay relevance. Coming back to when people see think about in the industry and the name, जैसे बोलते हैं हिंदी में कि नाम ही काफी है, Dr. Subhajit Bose. So when we talk about this, success has not come overnight, Dr. Bose. Would you
Sure.
like to tell us how you have designed to reaching here, in terms of whether the preparation started when you were at the child, because we both come from same state, so we understand what important of education and parent intervention to develop our careers is there. So tell us something about that. The success was a journey from childhood, or after adolescent, or after your education you realized, or maybe you saw the competition or you move forward, because everybody's time zone would have been different. So how this
Mhm.
success came to you? Was it a journey or something which you have thought of it at a very early stage?
To be honest, Ashish, I mean, I really didn't have a long-term plan, so to say, while I was a student. But of course, I was very cognizant of the competition around, and I've been blessed to have been brought up in an environment, where education was given a top priority, and self-development was equally important. So I really understood, during my school days, that I need to really sort of, slog it out, if you like, because the competition is tough, and unless you excel, you would be tending towards mediocrity, and there's nothing wrong about it. But the question is, what is your aspiration? So I think that is the starting point, and obviously, as I matured over a period of time across organizations, one thing which I realized was that, as you grow in an organization, both in terms of your profile, the seniority, etc., it's about sort of helping others, lifting others up, as opposed to your own individual success on a particular domain. And to be honest, that is a mantra which I have been following. And today, when I see some of the colleagues who work with me, and to be honest, in some cases, I took a huge risk of hiring, some people directly from college, and sort of working with them, learning from them, helping them, etc. And today they head certain functions in some multinationals, and we are in touch, and I feel so happy, and perhaps what happens is, when you do it this way, the ecosystem takes care of your success, because it's not about it's not about a transactional activity by which you get success. So and that is what I think leadership is all about as well. That you tend to lift others, you tend to make others successful, and the ecosystem takes care of your success. So that's my belief, and that's what I practice.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bose. You really touched a very pivotal point, and for the audience and participants, what Dr. Bose was trying to help us all to understand that while we do this career planning, it is our aspiration where we want to be. So it is not it's by choice. It's not by design. You and in professionalism, we both are here today because we aspired something, and that is why we are here. There are, so that is very
Absolutely.
important to have big aspirations, and that is a very big takeaway for young students. Dr. Bose touched upon leadership, so I will follow a leading question on leadership. um, Dr. Bose, your leadership style has been a kind of most talked about in the organization which you have worked, and I have heard it from your colleagues. You never get
Oh,
angry. You
I
never
didn't know
raise
that.
your voice. Yeah, so you never raise your voice. You seldom get angry, and there is a logic, not magic, when people speak to you. So if they have to convince, they have to come back with a logic, not a magic. But Dr. Bose, while this leadership, we all have been studying books. Leadership, leaders are born, leaders, and some leaders cannot. In terms of this leadership specifically, which you mentioned,
Mhm.
how have you developed, this kind of very uncommon and very attractive leadership, where specifically people working around you feel motivated? If you feel let down, they feel let down. They do not want you to feel let down because of their incompetency, and this kind of aura to develop in the people around you requires we will like to know about it. This is very
Mhm.
curious to all of us.
Sure. So, Ashish, I mean, with the little experience that I have, and of course, I'm by no stretch of imagination, I'm somebody who, I mean, there are very, very famous leaders who will talk you through much more in depth. But I think from my experience, what I can share with you is that there's nothing called that incompetence. So we really can't say that a team member is incompetent, because nobody is actually incompetent. It's the mindset, the way you look at it, that makes the person incompetent. And why I say that is, because when I interact with somebody, even today, if I interact with a fresher out of student, I think there are areas where I am incompetent. The student is very competent. So there are, to give you an example, that so on the digital space, now the students of today are native to apps, native to so many modern day technology, which we were not, because in our times it was not there. So in that case, am I incompetent? Would you say that? So it's all about a perspective. It's all about the lens from which you see. And I think the biggest ask from a leader should be to actually use his or her experience to show the path to the newcomers, to the younger generation, and help them with resources, and sort of help them to achieve success by following that path, and inspire them, build that confidence in their minds, that look, you can make it. So I think the real fun is when you make somebody who was completely not expected to shine, that he or she shines. And I think that's the biggest success. So You can always make somebody who is otherwise very very smart and intelligent successful. But when you can make somebody who is not perhaps that great into a very successful professional, that is very interesting. And I think that is the responsibility which we all leaders have, that we try and lift everyone who works with us. So that's a sense of responsibility, and I think that is why there are people who are experienced, and they share their experience. Because don't forget, I was also a fresher at some point of time. So every time I interact with my team members, I would always remember my younger days. And to be honest, I mean, sometimes I really feel that they are definitely much smarter than what I was when I were their age, or freshers. So when they reach my experience, they would certainly be much more smarter than me. So it's all about time continuum. So I think everybody should be optimistic, have a positive thought process around it, and everybody can be successful. It's how you look at the entire show.
So important, Dr. Bose, which you highlighted, that churns really a lot of thoughts. One is when we talk about leadership, you gave a new perspective that most of the leaders, they always come back and look for experienced people, whereas you have been known in the industry to groom youngsters. You focus upon youngsters and you believe a young blood can do that. That is one, and you have also been very critical on performance management system of
Yes.
various organizations, which you have raised your thoughts and views at various forums that
Hmm.
eradicate these are all obsolete systems which we follow, and halo and hall effects works upon this. So
Yes.
for the audience, Dr. Bose, would you like to know your thoughts on those two things? How did you feel that giving an opportunity to youngsters above the experienced people who are there, and you have been doing this in many of the organizations which you have worked, wherever you got an opportunity to bring in change. And second is questioning the existing performance management system, which the
Hmm.
organizations follow. So both these
Hmm.
things are revolutionary in terms of thought. And in organizations specifically, when it comes from a top to bottom approach, it has a larger impact. You being at a C level, you always go back, and when you say something, it ripples the thought of down the line. Tell us something. How did you develop this? Was it a conscious thing, understanding the economy, or this? How does these two very important points, but very rare people voice out, but you are one of them who
Hmm.
always focuses upon that.
Sure. So let me answer the first part of your question. Now, you see, when I say about young talent, yes, I would certainly, wherever possible, try and encourage young talent to come and work and prove themselves. But having said that, at no point of time do I propagate that experienced people, does not fit the bill. Of course, they do. So it's all about the correct mix, the correct combination, depending on what is the goal, or what is the objective you want to achieve. And it is all about creating the right mix between experience, between talent, that your creativity flows, innovation happens, and you are successful. So I have worked, in fact, I have worked with people, at least in the beginning of my career, uh, with in fact, a team member whose experience was more than my age, you see. So of course, that's a huge value they add, because they have seen it all. But what I'm trying to say, that I really don't believe in an extremist view, that either you need to have everybody who is experienced or everybody who is fresher. So what I'm talking of is having the right balance, and the balance as to whether it will be tilted towards newcomers or tilted towards experienced people will depend on the task at hand, or the objective you want to achieve. So if it requires more of experience driven activity, obviously we will have a team with experienced people. If it requires fresh thinking, if it requires sort of connect with latest technology, or connecting with a market segment of Gen Z, obviously we'll prefer college freshers, because they understand it better. So from that perspective, so that is the response to the first part. And I think on the performance management piece, not specific to any company. So of course, I mean, I have very limited knowledge about what individual companies do. But I think the current pandemic makes me believe that the dynamics have undergone a tectonic shift, so to say, in terms of how you actually measure and gauge performance, especially in a work from anywhere environment or a work from home environment. I think the systems which were developed a decade or two back, which were very heavy on quant, very heavy on matrices relating to KPIs, etc., uh, was inclined to a great extent on the inputs, what an individual employee or professional puts in. Whereas in a work from home or a work from anywhere environment, what will become relevant over a period of time is the output based assessment of performance. Now that is very important because it doesn't matter whether you are sitting in front of your laptop at 10 o'clock in the morning or not. It doesn't matter whether you are logged on till 6 o'clock or not. What matters is what is the output you deliver, and does that output add value? Is it aligned with the corporate objectives and the strategy? And have you been able to achieve success? And I think so that piece is very important, and it needs a different thinking, perhaps a new thinking. Of course, having said that, I don't mean that input is completely irrelevant. You do need a part of that, simply because you need to have a sense of discipline around work. But I think more important is, and especially if companies were to go hybrid over a period of time, what becomes very relevant is that how do you assess work, and again, depending on the type of output or the type of work we are talking of, but I think these aspects need to be considered on the value addition perspective, as opposed to just the efforts put in. So that's my personal view.
uh, I believe the only thing what came to my mind that all line managers should be thinking like you. That is the only takeaway we can say, because when the organizations, we as HR people, when we we put a system into place, we get a software, we real time management of the work,
Mhm.
monthly feedback. While we do all these, there's also an element which is a personal and a mental element, which you have written
Absolutely.
some of times in social media, that it's very important to have personal mental alignment. While we take this session forward, and there is so much to ask, but I will also take audience questions which are coming. An audience
Sure.
has asked a question, and he has said that he has shared me this on WhatsApp. I'll read it out. He has shared me, Dr. Subhajit Bose sir is an extremely great person. He has achieved everything in life. He has done so much of things. Sir, please advise that people who are not so aspirational, or who are not so in terms of highly educated or competent in terms of their thought alignment, how do we stick to the which stream do we take in terms, like the question what I could understand is that you, while I read your introduction, you might have felt you have done so much of things, right from
Mhm.
logistics, transformation, e-commerce, PNL, strategy, planning. And if somebody asks me that after interviewing Dr. Bose, what does he do? I will not be able to say what does he do. I'm still not clear. So, that is an honest opinion. I'm not clear what really, because we are doing everything. Like how advisory role to CXO as well. But a very important question from other side of the, there are a lot of individuals who stick to one education, one stream. And
Mhm.
what advice do you give? Is after this pandemic, what we have done has sometimes become eradicated. The opportunities are not there. The job market is closed, choked. Do we
Mhm.
shift, or we? How do one professional does a career planning in this? While we are reeling into this pandemic, let me put it in that way, which can be a stream, industry, anything. If
Mhm.
change or continue. So, how does somebody does a career planning? What advice do you want to give?
See, I mean, fundamentally, in response to the question of the gentleman or the lady who were asked, as well as what you asked, I think what is very important is, I mean, so two things he or she said is one, that if you are not so much educated, and second is if you are not so much inspiration. Or aspirational, sorry. So uh, if you are not so much educated, that's perfectly fine, in the sense that there's no hard and fast rule that you have to do sort of x number of degrees or things like that. But aspiration, I think everybody should have aspirations, because that is what takes you ahead in life. So if you don't have that, then what happens is, you may earn a living, but you won't make something great in life. Okay. So I think, and especially if I don't know the profile of the person, but if he or she is a youngster, I would say that, even if you don't like academics, no harm. But aspiration should be there. You should want to achieve things, because then only you will reach success, otherwise not. So that's the response to the question. Now, coming to your question, Ashish, I think, uh, structurally, I would say, from a career planning standpoint, things have not changed much. So, irrespective of COVID, no COVID, or any such exogenous factors, what still remains true is that if you follow your passion, if you follow or if you do what you like to do, and devote yourself completely and immerse yourself completely into that, you will be successful irrespective of what field you are in. Okay, so while of course I understand that there are certain trends, and those trends are very clear. Things like digital, things like supply chain, etc. Yes, so perhaps opportunities, number of opportunities are more there. But having said that, it is equally true that you still have opportunities on the classical segments or verticals, like finance, like pure play marketing, etc. But what has changed is, to give you a perspective, that when I did my chartered accountancy, we went completely in depth in terms of understanding where a debit and where a credit happens, right? And we had to understand. But today, majority of that is done by a software. So perhaps the orientation will differ, but still the understanding of a debit credit is still relevant. So I think the advice to the gentleman or the lady who asked the question is that what he should do. I think the best thing is that he should sort of completely detox himself from any sort of so-called information or other activities, and invest a couple of days to think that what is it. I mean, today, if I were a billionaire, and I need not have worried about a job, I didn't have to worry about my, let's say, kids education, etc., what is it I would have still done? you know is it that I would want to become a chef, or is it I would want to become a finance executive? Is it I want to become an industrial engineer? And basis that answer, he or she should proceed in life, because that is where the success of the individual lies. And then they should not deviate. They should give in their 120% on that. And over the years, time will say, the person will surely achieve success. So that's the way I would respond to that.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Mr. Bose. I think, not only with this question, you also gave focus to that passion is so important. And
Yes.
nowadays, the careers are built on passion, and they give us the path of opportunities. I remember, just to share with you that when I come from a very, very lower middle class family of Kolkata, and while I was there, I wanted to do hotel management. And my father told that why you want to become, a bearer and you have to spend my money and do that, since you. And I told no, that question was that I liked cooking. At point of time when I went and I did not eat non-vegetarian, still I realized I cannot do that. And then I thought the only way was to do an MBA and come into management sector. And still I am into hospitality or food. That's how. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I also I've narrated this example for all that what Mr. Bose was trying, that if there is a will, there is a way. If you are able to maintain that passion, the opportunities will come in some other form of time. Dr.
Absolutely.
Bose, you were, I also am very curious to know your opinion on work from home. I know you have said that at multiple forums, but
Hmm.
you come from planning, strategic, and you are advising organizations what they want to think after 10 years. The
Hmm.
preparation you want to do it right now, so they are ready for after 10 years. Such
Hmm.
kind of advanced thought alignment. Work from home was never thought, we have been forced into it, but lately we see over a year organizations have embraced it beautifully. What is your take on work from home, and how do you think categorically from an HR point of view that
Hmm.
I'm not talking about performance management but employee engagement, and now
Sure.
everything is virtual, and how does work from home engagement work, and any tips to HR people from an operational head perspective that you should do to ensure that engagement is there
Mhm.
within the employees.
Sure. So, Ashish, let me first clarify. I am no HR experts, so to say. So, what I would say is more from a business standpoint, which will be sort of relevant. And B is, of course, it is my personal view, not specific to any company. So, when we say work from home, I would rather have a wider umbrella by saying it's work from anywhere. And there's a reason why I say that. Now, if you see what has actually happened is that yes, we have seen the environment where there has been a lot of work from anywhere happening, and people today know that work actually can be delivered, by people working from any location, be it home or wherever. So yes, and that is definitely a trend which perhaps will remain over a period of time and grow. But I think it is equally important to understand that you know we we also need to consider the type of work we are talking of, the sector we are talking of, the level of seniority we are talking of, and a host of other factors. And why do I say so? Because you see, typically, when you do work from home, what you are talking of is delivering work on things which you do digitally. Okay. Now, if you look at if you look at human beings for the last hundreds of years, there are five senses, so to say, right? And the issue here is that there would be certain type of work which requires, let's say, team collaboration, which requires creativity, brainstorming, etc., which will still foster when you work together, in a conference room environment. So it is all about the continuum that we are talking of. That in one end you will have work from home, in one end you have work from office, and different companies will be in different scales of that continuum. So if it was a classical IT company, or let's say a coding job, perhaps it would be completely work from home or work from anywhere, because they really don't require to perhaps always come to office, or very remotely they can actually operate. On the other hand, if you're talking of customer facing roles, that will still continue to be office based, because can you really, there is a lot of aspects. I mean, if you talk to a marketing professional, he or she will tell you about how they would sort of gauge the body language of the client and things like this, which you can't do digitally, right? So similarly, if you want to do, let's say, $1 million deal, it may not be feasible to do it digitally. I mean, there could be so many concerns, starting from the digital security, to the fact that I mean, you may not be comfortable doing digitally and things like that. So it is all about, I know there is, of course, there is a trend, and that trend is global, and it has a cost implication. So naturally there is that understanding. But I think it's volume versus value at some point of time, and we would see a polarization of companies adopting the hybrid solution, which has some part of home and some part of office work. Uh, Now, why I say work from anywhere is because, which I told you at the start, was because uh, there could be trends where you would have regional office setups, which are which has the proximity advantage. So those would be work from anywhere environments where people could perhaps travel in a shorter distance and things like that. So from that perspective, it will be some sort of a hybrid model, which will be the way forward. That's my personal take on the subject. But obviously, all of us, this is new to all of us, and it will evolve over a period of time. And let's see how it goes. But if the question is that will everything be work from home, I don't think so. Certainly that's not going to happen, because you have a lot of advantages working from office, and of course a lot of advantages working from home. So I think those two will move on these directions within the continuum and somewhere balance it out as a hybrid model. So
Thank
I
you so
hope I
much,
have
Dr.
answered.
Bose. Both of us, again, a personal view, we work from home because both of us, the industry which we come from, work from home does not work in kind of setup. But as absolutely agreed that hybrid model is the way out. There's a midway. A very interesting question again I got on WhatsApp, and a very senior HR leader from Mumbai have
Okay.
asked me a question. I will not reveal his name, but I will just, say a senior HR leader. He's in CHRO of a multinational company. He asked, I'm very glad to listen to Dr. Bose. And I like his humility and his acceptance to the smallest of things. He just said he's not an expert, but sir, we all follow the operations guideline now. We have operations led. My question to you is specifically when we talk about HR, and what are your expectations from HR from an organization point of view, and
Mhm.
at your level, I'm not sure whether you have you will be able to get kind of right amount of sleep. There will be challenges which are always bothering you. So what are your challenges which you think about it, and as a strategist, what do you do to plan the way ahead better? So these are the two questions he has asked.
Sure. So I mean, firstly, from expectation from HR, and again, that is something which I believe every company will have, not specific to any company, is that we did see a tectonic shift in terms of how work happens, how sort of supply chains were sort of rewired, how things changed during the COVID, and couple of things I think becomes very relevant, which I'm sure a lot of HR leaders are thinking about. Is nothing new that I will say, but perhaps re-emphasize that. One is, of course, the employee experience, which will become very important, and I would rate employee experience as a little over employee engagement, because employee engagement, of course, was also done previously in forms of team building and various activities. But I think employee experience, like the way people measure customer experience, so net promoter score. Now, are we actually moving into that direction? Because if you see today, you could see a democratization of talent over a period of time, and if that happens, what is very important is you need that glue, the cultural glue of an organization to tie down a team who thinks on similar directions to achieve a similar objective of the corporate. So naturally, what will become very important is to see and ensure that the employee experience is excellent, and there's a lot of work which has to go around that. There is a lot of technology which can be leveraged on that. So here I'm talking of having sort of regular surveys, doing deep dive analytics in terms of the survey output to understand what are the trends, what are the emerging expectation of employees. Because mind you, the expectation that people have pre-COVID could partly change post-COVID, because the realities have changed, right? So naturally, one has to sort of sync up with the current day expectation of employees, and so having an ear on the ground, I think, will become more important, and it will be more difficult, simply because now really you don't have the water cooler discussions happening, right? So it's all about the virtual world. So how do you gauge the mental health of an individual employee who may be sitting 200 kilometers away from you, right? So those are aspects that HR will definitely have to think over ways and means to find out, and obviously, from ensuring that even if the population is dispersed across different geolocations, all of them are flowing in the same rhythm, is very important. Similarly, on the recruitment front, I think it is equally challenging, because now you have virtual recruitment, selection, onboarding, etc. And what is very important is perhaps some of the skill sets which were not very relevant 2 years back becomes very important now. So those aspects, because executive presence, physically versus executive presence virtually, are two different things. So your gauging parameters while recruitment would also differ. So I think those alignments would be very important, and ensuring that the team is cohesive enough, uh, irrespective of their physical location, will be the biggest focus for any HR leader. So I think that is my response to the question. Thank you very
I
much.
think you have really nailed in terms of it. Very very particular. These are the realistic challenges, and I think coming from you will enable a lot of other HR leaders to think beyond, because
Sure.
specifically which you have always focused upon that. As human beings, we should not live in past, we should not live in future, we should live in present. But as professionals,
Absolutely.
we should live in present and we should live in plan for future as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that
and
is
yeah, and actually, in fact, I just wanted to add to the perspective in that question, that perhaps what becomes very relevant for HR leaders today is people centricity. So it's no more about only customer centricity. It's about people centricity. So especially leaders who are involved in policy making from an HR standpoint will need to really focus on ensuring that the policy design is people centric, and it has to be people centric, because in a virtual environment, you need to have that strong sense of purpose driving everybody. So people centricity is a very very important aspect of HR. That's my belief from a business side. So yeah, sorry, I just yeah.
no, at any given point of time, somebody watches this, and if they don't know you, they will never come to know you are from business, not from HR. So that's how. So again a message. Again somebody told. Somebody has commented, not a question. Uh, Why don't Dr. Subhajit goes? Have you thought of becoming a CHRO?
Good question. Good question.
I don't know. I will not like to ask this question. And since you have tried, we
Okay.
never know. That can also
Mhm.
happen. But Dr. Bose, another part is terms of your personal role when you do it. As an individual, either focusing on company or career. What is
Mhm.
something which as a challenge at given point of time, since you have people from our point of view, our lens will always think, Dr. Shubhajit was to sab kuch achieve kar diya, everything has been done, but it's people who are really professionals know this is a journey which everybody has to live each day. Nothing is something ever achieved, you know but
Mhm.
what are the challenges which you see, in terms business challenges or in terms of career challenges which you
Mhm.
foresee for on a very generic purpose. I'm not talking about specific to organization or department, but what are the
Mhm.
challenges which you like to focus upon? Because why I'm asking this question is simply because this will help all the professionals who are there after this pandemic to at
Mhm.
least think about it, not as solution standpoint. Let the solutions be found by themselves, but what are the challenges which we need to be prepared? As a
Mhm.
all professional need to be there.
Sure. So, at a strategic level, I think there are three things which gain a lot of relevance, uh, and they are as follows. So, one I would say is the pace of change in technology. And because and when I talk of technology, I don't mean only technology interventions of existing processes, but I am referring to disruptive technology. So we have seen what disruptive technology can do to existing time-tested business models, right? So we have n number of examples of different technologies which has completely changed how business is done in that industry. So I think staying up to date, staying relevant, and understanding how to use technology towards the advantage of the business becomes very, very critical. Because if you don't do that, any disruptive technology can actually create a havoc for a particular business. So that is one, and that is where keeping one updated and always relevant is very, very important. The second I would say is, in fact, which I mentioned a little back as well, is people centricity. And I think again, that is something which becomes very, very important because ultimately, what will matter is, that have you been able to add value in the life of a person, whether the person is an employee or a customer or a supplier, or anybody for that matter, right? So you have to add value to the lives of the individuals. And the third is rapid innovation. Now, are you innovating enough? Now that becomes very, very relevant in today's context, simply because we need to understand and realize that revenue streams have been impacted for millions of companies and individuals globally because of the pandemic. So resources are going to be short going forward than what it used to be, which is quite natural. So in a environment where you have competition which is increasing and you have lesser resources, you have to be smart and you have to ensure that productivity is at the optimum. So if you have to do that, rapid innovation is one way to do it, right? And you need to have that mindset that if something is working fine, that's fine, but don't be complacent. Try to do something even better than that. Because if you don't do it, somebody else will do it. And once that happens, then you're out of business, right? So having this innovative mindset and that hunger to innovate and keep on innovating is something which I would think is very relevant for professionals in the modern times.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bose. I think what you said now is relevant not for today, for students, for professionals, but to generations to come. Because, friends, what Dr. Bose is saying is in terms of with his expertise, and he is able to see future better than us. So, this piece of advice we all should take as professionals. And whatever he said in terms of rapid innovation, embracing technology, being relevance, these are such important things that if we do it today, we'll reap the benefits in future. Somebody has again mentioned in the chat box. Sorry, so the person who had told that you want to be CHRO, somebody, an IT person has told, no, no, he's a good CTO, so please do not take him. So people are, so I don't know that they what cap they should give it to you. But last question before we move on to immediate question, we have to see the time limit of this.
Sure.
Very important is finance, Dr. Bose. While we spoke about operations, HR, strategy, planning, career, and if we
Mhm.
don't talk about finance, and if people do not say that you can be a CFO also as a chartered accountant, so I think that will be I will not be doing justice to this. How do you look finance as a stream, and being a qualified chartered accountant, which
Mhm.
is always an evergreen course, right?
Yeah.
When I was in childhood till today, and I think generations to come. Organizations and individual finance. I'm talking it relevance from an organization perspective as well as individual finance. Financial
Mhm.
planning is such pivotal thing. What are your thoughts on it, and what tips you want to give to the organization in the reeling unprecedented crisis? And
Mhm.
what advice do you want to give to do a better financial planning to the professionals? Because we cannot deny the importance of finance in our lives at any point of time.
True, true, true. Sure. So, of course, I mean, these two questions are very, very meaty. So, perhaps each question requires an hour to discuss. But
Correct.
let me try to do justice in a couple of minutes. I think on the business side of finance, which was the first part of your question, typically finance is like blood in the human body, which flows everywhere, right? And what is very, very important in the current times compared to when we qualified was that there was a lot of focus about the technical accuracy of accounting because it was done on a manual mode, right? So now what is very relevant is that how well do you understand the business, and how can you actually optimize your cost, and what are your revenue levers which you can optimize to ensure a profitable operation. So that requires a very clear understanding of the business where he or she is working as a finance professional. Now, when we talk of different industries, you have different sort of dimensions to it. So I'm not getting into that. So you may have a project-based industry, you may have a product-based industry. But again, what is very important is that if the business leader is wanting to expand into a market, the finance team should work as a business partner, and that is where the success lies. So of course the constraint part of the finance has to be in the DNA, because cost control and audits are a bread and butter of a finance profession, and all of us have done that over during our growing areas. But I think at present what is important is, can you sense the pulse of the business? Can you understand that whether this investment will make sense for the organization to achieve its goals, and if yes, how well you can provide optimum finance to ensure that you have a 2x 3x revenue as an ROI. So that is very, very important. So I would say finance function is more of like a business partner role, and a sound advisor to the business side of people or the marketing side of people, that fine, this is fine, but at the end of the day, does it make a P&L sense, does it make a balance sheet sense? So that counseling, I think, is very important, and that is where you have quality amongst finance professionals. So that is on the business side of finance. On the personal side of finance, I think the biggest thing which one should do is start saving early, and the reasons for that is that you can see the magic of compounding taking place of your investments, and this is not something very new. It people know, but typically what happens is, during the 20s until the mid 30s, people want to enjoy life, and they want to sort of do a lot of things. Yeah, that is important, but always remember that such instances that we see now, like the pandemic, you never know what is in future. How many pandemics one can have over a working life of 40, 50 years. uh, of course, till now it's once a year, once in 100 years. uh,
Yes.
but so what is very important is that one needs to have a saving mindset. So I mean, the percentage of course depends on the lifestyle of the individual, But starting early, I think, is very, very, very important, which I will advise. Even if it is a very small amount, doesn't matter. You know, even if it's absolutely small. But if you invest an amount when you are 22, 23, or even 25, look at that investment when you are 60, right? And you should ensure that you start earlier. The second is consistency of savings. So there's no excuse to that. So typically I would suggest, that I mean, it's just a suggestion, that open up two bank accounts. Let one bank account be your inflow or the income from your salary or rent, whatever, and have an expense account, and only transfer x percentage of your income into that, and spend only from that account. Build that discipline, so that consistently you are able to save. Because unless you consistently save, you will not be able to generate wealth over a period of time. So every month is important to save. So that is my message on the personal finance part.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bose. My personal opinion is just you are an institution in yourself. So that's what
No,
I can say.
no.
No, because
I'm just
I was as I told you, the start of the session. This is such a personal learning, and specifically people like you who are torch bearers, not for the organization but also for the industry. And it is our fortune that we are fortunate enough that people like you and this platform has enabled that we can get, because the only thing which I see, and I am glad that people like you who are coming forward, the knowledge is very important advice. We might look it as a discussion, but I am thinking even if it impact 10 lives when in digital media, how
absolutely.
important their family and how important it becomes, because most of the people requires advice, and that's how the Indian mechanism. Thank you so much, Dr. Bose. Your advice, your suggestions, your knowledge, your experience is like an ocean, and we are fortunate we could have taken a dip into it. I know the rapid fire question, which the entire audience is waiting and they want to know your response.
Oh,
A very quick one, maybe a couple
rapid
of words
fire.
or a
Okay.
sentence. Yeah, a rapid fire.
I,
I
I
hope
never
you
knew
you
this.
will. Yeah, you will enjoy this.
Okay.
So something.
Okay.
We don't reveal these questions, but how do you self
Okay.
motivate?
I think, especially when I look at my family, I really get motivated. I mean, so much love and care. The immediate family members, my wife, my child. So that's
I
super
would
motivated.
also I would also like to, give a big thank you to your family, your all entire people, because we generally, when we say, what we are fortunate to talk to you, and I'm so fortunate to have a discussion with you. But Dr. Subhajit Bose is created because of the support of family members, and
Absolutely,
HR Sampark,
absolutely.
and gives this opportunity to thank each of your family member for creating you so that we are fortunate enough to get that privilege today. Favorite food, Dr. Bose?
Ah, so
All
that is
people are already started writing Maj Bhat. So I don't
okay,
know.
okay, okay. No, but I mean, to be honest, yeah, Majbaz should have been, but to be honest, I'm away from Kolkata for 12 years now, and obviously, so okay, so it's a choice between biryani or Chinese, so to say.
Okay,
Yeah,
great,
yeah,
good.
but obviously,
Maybe
currently we can't, you know.
okay. Your favorite holiday destination?
Hawaii and Maldives. I love, I
Great,
love, yeah,
great. Your hobby?
reading.
I believe you all should inculcate this important hobby from the course. Every profession should think like a salesman or like a businessman.
Salesman.
Who helps in a career, a good boss or a terrible boss?
No, you make out a boss, whether the boss is good or terrible. So, and
Okay.
I have been fortunate to have a good bosses throughout. I'm really fortunate. But yes, boss is important, undoubtedly.
Any plans to become an entrepreneur?
Not really. No, no.
Dr. Bose, this is my last question. This question has come from the audience. I would like to ask. They
Sure.
have enthralled this session, and each one of you to be a part of your team. I don't know how they will make it. It is their destiny. But a question
Sorry, I
related
missed
to
a
that.
little bit for
Yeah,
the
I'm saying
lag.
this is the last question. Last question,
Okay.
which the audience all of your team in some or other way, and get
Sorry,
an
I missed
opportunity
the
to.
lag. I missed the lag. I couldn't hear what you said, Ashish.
I'm saying all of them have pointed out in the group they
Yeah.
want to be a part of your team and work with you in some or other
Ah,
way.
so
And
sweet. So sweet.
for them, I cannot help them to work, but I can asking this question, I can give them that opportunity. You are known to be one of people's person, and you are always been. I'm saying this because the feedback which we got from all people when we went ahead and spoke about you. You always
Mhm.
been had a mediator, a person peacemaker, giving the right, and but you have been, your interviews are really tough. People have said, what do you see in your interviews? How can somebody crack an interview of Subhajit Ghosh?
Oh my God. How do you do? So you do so much of research? I'm
No,
surprised.
so yeah,
Okay.
because generally yeah, this is we do the generally not a research, but we go back and connect with different people
Okay.
of your current
Okay.
organization, previous organization, because how do I say it is like a Bollywood star feeling. You are nothing short, professionals for us, people who are into this
Mhm.
kind of lane, airline industry and all. When I tell them, if you are there,
Okay.
all of them
So
see you that way, and that feedback they have given कि बाकी सब तो ठीक है, but इंटरव्यू क्लियर करना पता नहीं क्या देखते हैं वो बहुत सारे कैंडिडेट देखते हैं
okay. Okay. Yeah, so again, not specific to any particular company or my present company, but I think even when I've interviewed candidates in the previous companies, I think what is very two things which are very important, and one is attitude, because sometimes I believe that if you have the person with the right attitude with relatively lesser skill, then you can sharpen up the person. But if the attitude is not good, you can't do that. So naturally, that becomes very important. And the second thing is, what happens is a lot of times we see a lot of things being written on the CV, and when you start a chat on those, you have a different perspective to it. So and that is something which we don't like, because what happens is that you spend a lot of time, and it's not only the line managers, but even HR spends a lot of time in sourcing candidates, etc. So I think if one is very open and transparent in terms of what he or she has done, it helps both parties. Because see, because people will figure it out. I can today say that I have sort of done some propulsion in rocket engineering and things like that. But if I'm asked 10 questions or even 2 questions, people will know, right, that I don't know that.
correct,
So I think
correct.
those are aspects which one needs to understand, and that is where it gets little tough, because uh, if we see that technically the person, again, it depends on the role, I would say. So on technical roles, we want the person to be very, very sound, and obviously we have to ask tough questions, because the competition is also obviously very, very tough, because for one position at least you have 10 to 12 candidates. So naturally we have to ask tough questions and get the best candidate out into the stream. So that's the reason. But otherwise, I think nothing in specific about the interviews being tough. No. And obviously we don't ask questions which the candidate is not expected to know. So it's all within the domain. That's how it is. But yeah, I mean, because we have a
I,
responsibility. You see, we have a
correct,
responsibility.
absolutely
So
correct. Yeah,
naturally we have to be very, very conscious about it. Yeah. So Yeah, but I think otherwise, I'm a chilled out person. There's nothing like that
Yeah.
at all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bose. I think you gave not only a tip for cracking your interview, which since it is around the world, anything can happen any point of time, but also a planning in terms of their career. You know. To the audience, while we finished this session, and very difficult for me to say a goodbye, because Dr. Bose, whatever he has said, it will be difficult for me to sum up even, but couple of things, important takeaway which I am taking personally, all of you would have there. One is being passionate. If you are passionate, you will create a way. And second is being honest to yourself. This entire discussion, the most important thing which impacted me to the bottom of my heart is the humility, the groundedness of Dr. Bose, and he is not only a champion professional, but he is also a true human being. For all of you who don't know, he indulges into a lot of CSR activities and social contribution. So he keeps that low profile, but I want to tell you that he has been impacting the society in a big way, and also in terms of career guidance, to students, to professionals who are there. This is also a kind of social contribution, because somebody who comes forward and gives a selfless advice for us to grow, it is not easy. Many of us, how many of us we do it on a regularly basis selflessly? Dr. Bose, it's our honor, privilege, and जैसे हम बोलते हैं कि आज चार चांद लग गए आपके, your presence made it all glittered gold and diamond today. You are an institution in yourself, and we are fortunate that in this ocean we could take a dip of a small time, but this learning will there for a long time. From bottom of my heart, from behalf of all participants and the entire HR Sampark family, I thank you for taking this time and taking this effort. It is not easy in such time, but you did this, and you stood by your commitment. I have to mention to the audience, Dr. Bose was unwell. He still kept the connect. He told that once I'm back, I will definitely do this, and people like professionals like him, the industry look upon to it, and we are privileged to witness Dr. Bose today. Thank you so much, Dr. Bose. I hope you enjoyed it, and we could do some justice to your time, valuable time, in terms of your.
So thank you, Ashish, and the Sampark family, and all participants. And it has been my pleasure, I must say, interacting with you. I also learn a lot of things during these interactions, and it has been an excellent interaction for me as well. And I hope that it will help the participants. And thank you very much for having me here. Yeah, and best wishes to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
All right.
sir. Thank you so much. Wish
Thank
you
you.
all the participants a safe weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.